Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beer and Skittles podcast, where today we're talking about one of everybody's favorite cartoons of all time, Avatar, where they have just given Avatar their own studio and they are now made a slate of all the projects that they have coming out between 2023 and 2027.
So some of the biggest things on here, um, we have the live action show starting next year. It says summer 2023. Um,
Well, this year.
oh yeah, that is this
Yeah,
year.
holy
Damn,
shit, it's already
damn,
2023.
damn. You only get older, huh? Jesus. Whew. All right. Well, um, it looks like season two of the live action show on Netflix will be coming summer of 2025. The first animated film coming out of Avatar Studios will be coming in 2025 as well, with that being focused on the original cast as young adults. Uh, Moving into winter of 2025, we're supposed to be getting the first new Avatar post Korra. Um,
Which is going to be an earth-bending avatar, as the
yep.
cycle is.
Um, the next thing, 2026, we get a first animated film focused on Zuko. No word on what time period of his life or anything like that. Um, 2026, we're supposed to be getting a spin-off of the series, and 2027, season 3 of the live action. 2027, we might also see another animated series as well as an animated film, which might be about Kyoshi. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's a jam-packed slate for a studio that only has one brand to its name. Like it is Avatar Studios, and all they do is Avatar. And to this date, we have only gotten two projects from them in like the past 2 decades. And even that last project was a long time ago. Like I
It's a long
couldn't even
time ago.
remember. Yeah, I couldn't even remember when Korra came out. Um, and now they're just putting out damn near like 2 to 3 projects a year, which is pretty insane again for people that have only done two projects in their entire span of being. But since they were given the chance to get away from Nickelodeon and create their own studios, there's a lot of high hopes for it. Mainly because I mean, you see a lot of series get picked up, and especially in Avatar themselves, we've gotten an Avatar movie. It wasn't great. We don't like to remember it. Our hopes were really high going into it because it's a lot
I've
of
never
people's.
seen it.
You've never seen it? Keep it that way.
No, I
Keep it that way.
refused to see
No,
it.
it's a good
And
idea.
when it came out and like the cast, like I was upset over everything, and I refused to watch it to this day. I have not seen the live action Avatar movie.
Well, it's not worth the watch. I got excited for it because it's Avatar. I mean, for most people that grew up around that time period, Avatar's a top five cartoon to them. Even from an unbiased perspective, I think it could be claimed that Avatar is a top five cartoon of all time. I mean, it even gets called the honorary anime because of how the style almost matches up, and it's just so great that even like people want to call it an anime. Uh, so yeah, when a movie was being announced for, like people want to see it no matter what. But it was a huge letdown. But the creators of Avatar were not involved with that. Other people got into the rights to it through Nickelodeon, but now the original creators of Avatar, the cartoon, the comics, graphic novels, etc., are in charge of the entire thing. Like not just their consultants, they are the producers of the Avatar franchise now.
Yeah, and I will say so. The prior to Avatar Studios being opened by Paramount, um, Paramount being the parent company of Nickelodeon, the original creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender were attached to the Netflix show. They were doing it. They did leave over creative differences. They are now being the heads of Avatar Studios are working with the Netflix team. It's being said that the there will be new content. There is new lore and everything being added to the canon story of Avatar, and that's coming directly from Avatar Studios for them to add into addition of what we had already seen in the animated series going into the live action. So it's not going to be 100% one for one, scene for scene, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think the one thing is just what I liked, they already had the casting, especially for the original Team Avatar, released like a year or more prior. And it looks
Yeah.
great. And what I love even more about it is that I don't have any big names or names that I really recognize, which is great because it seems like they're going for accuracy. And I think that's paying off for them as it does seem accurate, and they're not going for the appeal of what do people want to see and what's going to attract the attention other than that it is Avatar.
Yeah, and I think, I'm really excited to see, and like you said, having these almost unrecognizable younger actors playing these parts. You're not distracted by star power. Um, you're just going in and you're just letting them be Aang and Katara, and you know, um,
Yeah, and they even
hopefully,
have people casted that aren't originally from season one. So as you said, they're taking their own creative liberties and adding to it as they wish they would have as they look back onto the show. So like, Toph is not casted because she can't come in until book two Earth.
yep.
But Azula is, which could make sense because that is Zuko's sister. So it would make sense if she was present in some way or form. So we could get a possible Azula cameos and whatnot.
Or
Which again,
having
so it's gonna be different.
flashbacks, flashbacks to Zuko. There's so many flashbacks in that first season of Zuko in the Fire Nation and his exile. Um, Having Azula in the background and being there makes sense. Um, there's so much that makes sense. Even flashbacks that Aang has of the Air Temple, and like people that he knows and had met and stuff in the Air Temple, the nomads that you don't see in the first season because all of those flashbacks are just centered around him and Gyatso. You know what I mean? Like you don't have everything that they've added in addition. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
like who knows? Maybe we'll get some Boomy, in the first
yeah,
season. Get young Boomy in there.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm hoping the special effects are where they need to be. Where while I haven't seen the original live action Avatar
Not good.
movie, I have seen clips and I've seen how horrible the special effects were on the bending. Um, so I'm really hoping that like the money is going into really creating the special effects here.
And they definitely have money going into it. I know you were telling me before we started here that Avatar Studios currently has the biggest LED soundstage, correct?
Yeah, so they are working with a company. They created the largest LED soundstage. It now holds the record for the largest LED soundstage in the world, and they're using it for Avatar. Um, it's the same technology that they used on The Mandalorian. They've used it on Game of Thrones. Basically, for anybody who doesn't know, back in the day when you would have to create a digital background, you would put all of your actors in front of a green screen or a blue screen, depending on what was needed. Um, and you would just digitally add in that background after the fact. It becomes hard to visualize for actors and everybody to see. Uh, you don't know where you are. You can't tell. Um, what these LED screens do is allow them to put that background up in real time, and the actors are in front of it. And I mean, it looks real. Look at the Mandalorian, Game of Thrones. These shows they look real, but it's all LED. And the soundstage that they've created for Avatar is almost a full circle. There's just a small opening for the people to walk in and out of onto this soundstage, and it's massive. I think the facility spans 22,000 square feet, measuring 80 feet by 27 and a half feet, with 2,500 LED wall panels and 760 LED ceiling panels. So it's big.
Yeah, so the obviously no expense is being, spared for this project, and like by all means it shouldn't be. I mean, it's one of those things where they have a base audience down to its core, and like there's no way that it doesn't get its attention, so you might as well make sure that it gets its success so that it can continue on. And I guess they like what they're seeing so far, and they see a bright future with it because they have like 11 projects over the next 4 years. So
yeah, this is also really cool. So this is from the director of episodes 1 and 2 for the live action. And I'm just going to read part of it. He had said that for the first shot on the first day of filming, which was shot on a boat with 2 passengers getting swept into a massive ice cave, I added a bit of magic. The ice cave walls were virtual in production using the LED soundstage. The ice shelf was a practical set piece, and the wave of water was a 4-foot trough placed in the foreground of the camera with a split filter in front of the lens. 2 special effects technicians dumped buckets of water into the trough as grips and stunt riggers pulled the boat on cables across the floor. The resulting image combined the elements of different specialties to create a new reality that enhanced the fantasy of what was happening. He goes on to say that in early production meetings, he proposed doing the shot this way, with the assurance that he'd done it before. And he then says, I'd never done it before. It just seems like it would work in theory and it would be fun. Which, as we know, that's like one of the best ways to make movie magic,
I mean, you hear it a million times from directors, and they say this, that I want to do something. I had an idea. I pitch it to the studio, and the first thing they ask me is, have you done this before? The answer is always yes, because if you say no, they're gonna shoot you down.
Yeah, you're not shooting that. Then we're not spending the money on that. No, I've done it. It works. Yeah, I've seen it done before. So and so did it. So yeah, I think it's awesome. Combined, so we know that it's not just background. It's not all CGI. There is practical effects going into this. There is still like physical effects,
which I think is
awesome.
Great, because as CGI has gotten better and better, people love it, and to the point where they overuse it. But CGI, while it's amazing, and there's certain movies where you're like, I couldn't even tell, there is a lot of movies that you can definitely tell and be like, it doesn't feel realistic, where you can get practical effects that are just going to be better. If you just put a bigger budget on your props department and such, it can come out better. I mean, you can look at old werewolf movies from the 50s, 60s, 70s, not saying that they're the best. However, that was damn near a century ago, or half a century ago, and it still looked pretty damn good. Pretty damn good.
I don't agree with a lot of directors when they start coming out, big budget movies of being not cinema and stuff, and we don't need to get into specifics. You know who they are. One of the directors, though, that I will agree with, James Cameron, when Avatar 2 had come out, had said there's zero excuse at this day and age, especially if you have a big budget. There's zero excuse for bad CGI, and I agree.
Yeah, there's, I mean, 100%. I mean, James Cameron specializes in a million things. But one of the things that he's been known for since the release of the first Avatar, and even it massive. I mean, his discography is massive. But CGI's became his thing, especially since Avatar, since that was like the step up in the world. But then we even see massive studios like Disney that sometimes don't execute it well. They just
And
like
with a budget that big on a Marvel movie, there's zero reason why the CGI and the special effects shouldn't match Avatar.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, you have movies that are grossing as high as Avatar, movies that have beaten Avatar, granted re-released and they beat them again,
Yeah.
but have beat Avatar in the gross income, and it's ridiculous that they can't keep that budget. Especially, I remember when I saw the first Black Panther, which was an amazing movie, but I remember some of those fight scenes in the Panther suit, especially against Killmonger, felt like a video game.
Mm.
Like I just didn't believe it. Um, so it's
It,
just
it,
sometimes people can fall short, but it seems like they're not going to do this here, and especially again bringing in practical effects as well as your CGI. It's it's going to make everything a million times better because you can see it on there, and before you even say it'll be in post, this is going to work. We see it, it's
well,
going to
and
work.
that's why like one of the things I would love to see for the live action Avatar. I get that you got to have CGI for certain things. You know you're gonna have to do, but practical effects is still important. Um, it would be really cool if like Appa might be too big, but like Momo being an animatronic, you know,
No, yeah,
I'm
that'd be sick.
you know yeah like the and having like it physically there, you know, it it makes all the difference too for the acting, you know. Um,
So
so
then, I mean, this isn't the only. Obviously, we just announced a huge slate, and this live action might be the one that gets the most chatter because it is first to come out, and it's just again after the disappointment of the first attempt at a live action Avatar, and the chance to kind of relive childhood.
yep.
It's obviously I think going to be huge. But again, many things on this slate. One of them being the original Team Avatar in their older state and following that. So picking up, well, not right where, but later after the animation had originally ended. Uh, and I'm going to be really curious to see how they execute it because obviously they're older. Based on the poster, they look like they're probably in their 20s or so.
I'd say
Um,
so.
so it's going to be interesting to see what they do because there's a lot of different possibilities they can go there. The Fire Nation was defeated. It's supposed to be a time of peace and prosperity, but obviously between Avatar and Korra, there is a long time that goes
Yeah.
by. And so was peace and prosperity that fast? How quickly did
Well,
we get there? Is
and
there
we
still
know
problems or are they going to go on an, you know, a side quest, some kind of adventure that's personal to them rather than worldly like it was in the original?
well, and we know that you know there was like a period where they were rebuilding, and we know that from Korra, we know Aang and Zuko worked together to build Republic City. But what about all the time in between then? Um, and Zuko does become the Fire Lord at the end of the
Yes.
series, so we're automatically Zuko's in a position of power. Um, so how does that affect him as a young adult uh, ruling the Fire Nation? It's gonna be yeah, really interesting. We also know Toph helps. You know, she trains the metal benders in Korra, and you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, she created the police force and ended up teaching metal bending since she was the first ever metal bender and the only one we see in the original Avatar.
right?
Uh,
How do we get there? You know,
yeah, Korra and Aang, you know, I mean, not Korra and Aang, um, Katara and Aang, Katara and Aang being together, we can see how that moves forward. Because I don't know if we really ever got a lot of mention of what Katara does.
I mean, she's
Uh,
in Korra.
Yeah, she's in Korra. I know that she's an old woman in Korra, but I don't think we ever know like what she does in between. I don't remember them ever
No,
mentioning.
and there's a
Obviously
lot
she's
of
with Aang, so we could see kind of, some of that stuff, but I'd like to see like if she has anything to do going forward, being, as we look back, being one of the most powerful waterbenders they've ever seen.
right. There's also a lot of characters from the original show that like I don't even think they get mentioned in Korra. Like Um, what about the Kyoshi Warriors?
Yeah, that is true. I mean,
And like Ty Lee, she joins the Kyoshi Warriors, right? At the
yeah,
end.
no, she does. She joins the Kyoshi Warriors at the end.
Um, and I don't even think she's mentioned. And it's funny because she's also one of the like with her ability to like block chakras and like stop people from bending. You know what I mean? Like being a non-bender, she was taking on. She stops Azula.
Yeah, I mean, pretty powerful for a non-bender, and who knows, maybe she was the influence to what we later see in Korra with taking away bending, as well as even her friend May, who ends up being with Zuko, so
With
she's end
Zuko.
up queen of the Fire Nation. So another character that we'll probably end up seeing a lot of, and maybe just that gets Team Avatar expanded. Um, with her being involved with Zuko, she'll probably be along. Ty Lee, uh, who is part of the Kyoshi Warriors, as well as uh oh wait, I'm blanking so hard.
Sokka's girlfriend.
What's her name? You don't remember either. Exactly. But so then she could be a crucial part since she is now a member of the group that Sokka's girlfriend leads. Uh so a lot of more characters that could play roles into the story as well here. I see that Google face going to work right now.
Suki? Suki?
Suki.
Suki. Suki.
Yeah, Suki.
Oh, and the moon.
And the moon.
And the moon.
See if the moon
My
comes
first
back.
my first girlfriend turned into the moon. It's rough, bro. uh I will say I'm also super excited for the um sequel to Korra. Um we know it's going to take place after Korra has passed, so it's sometime in the future. And we had already moved into like the steampunk uh, type, diesel punk era of in Korra. So, are we entering the modern day, or even further into the future, like some type of cyberpunk esque uh, background with the next Avatar? Um,
I mean, possibly. I mean, it's hard to think. I mean, the amount of time passed between Aang and Korra. Uh, at the end of Last Airbender, they were starting to come up with kind of like steam power and such like that. Mainly because of Sokka and his mentor. Um, creating such inventions, but they were new. I mean, they just invented like hot air balloons and stuff. So like
yeah.
that's how primitive they were, and like major cities weren't really major cities unless like the Earthbenders built major cities and stuff like that.
Well,
Just because they had made Earth, and then the Fire Nation had mostly little towns and then just their big empire. But you even see that in like feudal Japan and China and such like
I
that.
could see I could see like Republic City continuing to evolve. Hear me out. Republic City evolving and becoming like a modern day like metropolitan, think New York, Tokyo, um, or even having Republic City having gotten even more advanced because that's where everything was, right? That's where the like top technology was, even like cyberpunkish. But what if other areas of the rest of the world, the other nations, have like regressed into like we get like the Dark Ages where even though everything was advanced, we've now dropped and like things have regressed back to the way they were in the original series.
Yeah,
Um,
and what's also I think going to be interesting is that no matter what, you're definitely going to see I think progress in technology. And the basis of the first season of Korra was benders versus non-benders. As they technology has grown so much that they were able to take on benders now, which they were never able to do before, except for like few, like how you just said, Ty Lee, some master swordsmen and such. Now they were good enough to where they could take on the benders. Obviously, they lost that battle, but 50, 60, 100, however many years later, how much further is technology to where is bending almost obsolete to them? Do they really even care about benders anymore?
The other thing is too, with the end of Korra, the spirit world is like completely open. You know, it's even more closely linked with, you know, the world, their world, and where does that stand with, you know, the rise in technology, um, and the spirit realm, and like that connection that they have. What's also super interesting is Korra broke the bond with all of the past avatars. So the new avatar, unless there's
Nothing.
some kind of lore change, is only going to have Korra to rely on as a, like, you know, going into the avatar state and like getting advice and stuff. It's only Korra. And Korra can give advice based off of like her knowledge from the past avatars from her, but he
Yeah, not
himself is
not the
not going to
same
be able
though.
to talk to them. Yeah, which is going to be super interesting because he's really not going to have much to rely on as far as like generations and generations of past knowledge. He's going to be missing all of it. So definitely super, super interested in what direction they go with the new series.
Yeah. And so we have that. We have the Zuko project as well. Uh which in my mind I feel like it's set as to what it's going to be about. They haven't said anything, but my best guess is just going to be Zuko trying to find his mom. While it is a story they already
You
told,
you want it to be. It's not
well,
your
I
best
want it.
guess. It's
No,
not
I
your best guess.
no,
It's what you want.
I want it to be, but it also makes the most sense. So they made a at the end of season 4 of Avatar, the final season, they give you a cliffhanger. I don't know why. I don't know if they ever intended to continue the story in the cinematic format, but they give you the cliffhanger of Zuko going to visit his dad in the jail cell and asking about his mom, and he's about to tell him. And nothing. Nothing. We never heard about it again, except for, which I didn't read this because I was so young at the time. I didn't know it happened until much later in life. Um, was that they made a graphic novel about that story. Granted, I didn't know about it until later. I don't know if a lot of people knew about it till later. I don't know the success of that graphic novel, and it's a story that again I think a lot of people would love to see cinematically. So I think, especially to point out all characters, well, Zuko is the fan favorite. I'm sure if there's a poll
Yeah,
of favorite Avatar characters, the disgraced bad boy Firebender, I'm sure it goes to the top of the list every
100%.
time.
It has to be.
But to just solely pick out one member of that group and give them their own solo, I while he was the cliffhanger for the final season, I feel like it just makes sense for it to be that storyline.
The only other two characters I would want a solo film about. Toph is a badass and could carry her own. Um, so I could definitely see that. I feel like I feel like you also get a lot of the drama in Zuko, but you could go full out comedy and give Sokka a movie, and it would be hilarious. Like going back and rewatching it now, like I appreciate how just utterly hilarious Sokka is as a character.
Yeah, Sokka's great. I don't know how much he could carry that solo
What about
film.
this? What about this? Like a
If
buddy cop, Sokka and Zuko. You remember the episode where they like
yeah, where they
went
were
to the
together,
prison?
yeah.
It's hilarious because even the scene prior to them leaving in the hot air balloon to go, Sokka's laying in the tent on the carpet, hair down, and Zuko's the one that walks in. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Um
And he just takes him on this adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be cool things to do with the soccer project, especially thinking about what he probably does. Again, another character that I don't know if we ever really talk about too much of what he does in the meantime. Uh,
Is Sokka? Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, it could be cool. I mean, again, Katara is going to be with Aang, but where does that leave Sokka? And in my best guess, it would be rebuilding the Water Tribe. and
Probably.
rebuilding their army, as his dad was in charge of their military, and then he ended up following in his footsteps at certain parts in the show, and loving the Water Tribe so much, I couldn't see him not going back to do that. So maybe seeing him step up into a leading role in taking charge of the Water Tribe military and trying to be serious around cadets and stuff like that, and seeing his training might be a cool thing.
I definitely think there is some untapped potential there.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, we only saw their slate for the next couple years, 4 years. So, I mean,
and everything
I
is
think it'll
subject to
be,
change.
yeah,
You
and
know,
I
like
think it'll be successful, and we're gonna get more and more like the Earthbending Avatar is probably gonna get more seasons. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
yeah,
Because that's just gonna be something people are gonna want to see. I mean, and we're probably gonna get more spin-offs. Again, they're creating this lore.
to really expand this universe. So it'll be super interesting to see where they go and just what they do. And it's the original creators, so I'm on board for absolutely everything that they have to offer.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're gonna have a lot more to go. I'm sure they're definitely gonna revisit Aang more times, as
Yeah,
so far everybody likes Last
but
Airbender better
also
than
I
Korra.
hope I hope they don't go the Star Wars route and they learn that we don't have to be glued to Aang and the original Avatar.
Yeah, of course, and I
Like
think they'll
like
definitely
what
do a
Star
full.
Wars knows. Get away from
Yeah,
Skywalker.
get away from Skywalker. We don't need him anymore.
Yeah,
There's so many great background characters and supporting cast people that you could focus on, but and I think obviously they're gonna like come around full cycle.
yeah,
After Earth, I'm guessing they're gonna jump another 100 years and go into
fire.
fire. Maybe then they'll stop. But I don't see them not just doing the full cycle. It would just make too much sense.
Yeah.
Not to.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? I mean, we have a spin-off series, we have these unannounced ones. Maybe we'll see something with the Sun Warriors, which was only featured in one episode.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see them come back. I mean, we know that they probably have some part, and we might see them in the adult Avatar, because we do know that Zuko has a dragon, and that's where
Yeah.
the dragons come from. Uh, so I'm sure that they're also going to be a part of it, and we might see Zuko getting his dragon and whatnot.
Yeah.
Uh,
I will say this, the one thing I do really want from the sequel series, I want one main villain. Not that I had a problem with Korra. Every season had its own villain. They were kind of self-contained, but having one overarching villain like you had in the original series with
mhm.
Fire Lord, I think that might be like I want that.
Which, there can be, I think, subplot villains, because
Yeah, 100%.
it's gonna be hard to kind of follow that same storyline after what had
Yeah,
all happened and Aang restored and all of that. But yeah, no, definitely, I think overarching villain, because it's that anticipation. I'm
yeah,
waiting. I'm waiting. I want this. I doubt. I mean, they could start the next Avatar with as young as learning all the elements, not like how they did with Korra, where she knew everything but air, and that's how they broke up their
or
seasons. I doubt they'll do that again, but
maybe the villain grows with the new Avatar. Like maybe we see that progression of him becoming the Avatar and him becoming the villain, and in the end, we get our final battle. You know what I mean? And it's been a progression of him becoming this big bad while
oh
he
yeah, I mean,
becomes.
that's probably a storyline that they just haven't tapped into yet. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, kind of. With Zuko's, what is it, great grandfather, where
who Roku, the Avatar.
yeah, Roku, where Roku and the Fire Lord were best friends growing
Yeah,
up, and then became the
yeah,
mortal enemies. Which again, with a great story, they told a lot of it in the original show. Maybe something that they can revisit back on, since we think they're going to do Kyoshi. Maybe they'll do him as well, as we got a lot of information on him. But a possible storyline like that could be great to see. And I think one
yeah.
thing that everybody thinks about is how there's only one Avatar, but maybe the possibility of, since Korra broke it off, you might have gotten an anti-Avatar, somebody that comes in that also has the abilities. I think it's passed through everybody's mind at some point that what if there was
I've
two
seen
avatars showing off
I've seen
against each
interesting
other?
theories too. What if the Avatar was like twins?
That's a good one
You
too.
know,
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
that could be also very interesting.
yeah. But I know you wanted to do a sort of draft.
Yeah.
We talked about.
We've, drafts have been pretty popular lately, and it's something we want to do more of because it's kind of things that we'll do in our free time anyway, but we haven't been able to put it on camera yet because we just haven't thought to. And originally we're just gonna kind of do a bender's draft, but we have a perfect opportunity where there is pro bending in Korra. So if we were to draft our own pro bending team, who would we pick? And for those of you guys that'll be watching this on other social platforms like YouTube, TikTok, whatever, love to see your comments to see who you think wins this pro
Yeah,
bending battle.
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to leave it up to other people to decide why my team is going to win. Um, and that'll just, I don't have to do none of the fighting. Um, but for those that don't know, pro bending, so that's 3 characters each. And we did make the executive decision beforehand. No one is allowed to choose an avatar.
Yeah, because then we could just stack up all the avatars
Stacked.
we know, and it's like, who really wins? I mean, because then your first picks are going to be Kyoshi and Aang, and
Yeah.
those two powerhouses against each other plus everyone else. It's just death. It's just death. That's what it is. Death to everybody.
All right. You ready to roll the dice? See who goes first?
Yep.
All right, I'll roll mine first. Highest wins. Hey Siri, roll a d20. Mine said 9. I'm not happy.
Hey Siri, roll a d20. Roll a d20. I got 6. So
We both
you have,
suck.
well, at least you're better than me.
I
You
get first
have
pick.
first pick. So just to repeat for anybody
Oh,
that's going to reach the clip, we are doing a pro benders draft 3v3 pro bending tournament. Right, you have first pick.
real quick, because I just remembered one of the rules of pro bending. You couldn't repeat element type. Are we keeping that, or do you want to just pick 3?
I'm also going to tell you that if you do, you probably have a lesser chance. Using the
Okay,
different elements and their weaknesses is probably
key.
it's probably better off for you.
Yeah. All right. First pick. I'm going with Toph.
You're going with Toph.
100%. The creator of metal bending. Yeah.
Here's the thing though,
100%.
the pro bending arenas didn't include metal, which is why my first pick is going to go with, I think, the best earth bender, pure earth bender of all time, Boomy. You can't go against Boomy. In his
Toph is a little
decrepit,
demon child.
I don't
Little
care,
demon child.
in his decrepit age, he took down an entire city in
That's
a
true.
few minutes.
That's true. There is no Warren Bossing say. My second pick, if we're going for just all out power, and I don't need nothing fancy around, I'm going Azula. Somebody with no remorse, somebody who will do whatever it takes to win. Absolutely just power.
You see,
Azula.
you're fucking up.
No. Because you're going for all the old people. I already know who you're going to pick. I already know.
I know
I
because
can see it in your eyes. I
all
can
I'm gonna
see it in
do
your eyes.
is I'm just gonna counter you, and you're going for the weaker counterpart
No.
to my people, and it just has to be Ozai. It's
What?
said.
Oh no, you didn't go where I thought you were going. Nope, you made the
nope.
wrong choice. You
No,
made the wrong
it's
choice.
even stated in the show. Ozai is the strongest firebender we've ever seen.
No way. There's somebody better. And
I know
didn't pick him.
I know you're thinking of Iroh.
100%. I'm thinking of
you're
Iroh.
thinking of Iroh.
Do you remember?
I'm not
Do
looking
you
for the good guy.
remember when Iroh went to jail?
I know, jacked. No reason, jacked.
Jacked.
But I'm.
Jacked. How do you get tall?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know. That's what I want to
I
know.
need to learn that. All right.
I
Pick your
need
last
his
person.
workout plan. I need his workout plan. Um, my last person. I think I got Earth and Fire
You got two choices here for elements
for
for your best
elements.
shot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Amon.
You're gonna go Amon.
Yeah, one
I
of the
mean,
most powerful bloodbenders in the series.
yeah, which I don't know about the rules with bloodbending, but he's still just a powerful
He's
waterbender
a
to be able to
powerful, yeah.
bloodbend without it, which I'm also just gonna go water. We haven't seen airbending and pro bending, so I do not know how it would work, nor do we have a lot of options with Aang off the table for airbenders. So I'm also gonna go
You
the
have his
route.
whole family.
Yeah, I don't really
Tenzin.
care. Yeah, I don't care about Tenzin. Um,
It's messed up.
feel like there's better. But I really thought that you were going to go with Katara, and I'm surprised you didn't because I was gonna go Zhang Zhang, who was her teacher, but I have to go Katara now. I mean, she was the prodigy. I'm going
Yeah.
with Katara as my three pick.
I think I win, bro. I think I'm beating you.
No, no shot.
Yeah.
I think I really won. You know, Toph is cool, and we only saw her as a kid, so maybe in the adult series we'll see how great she is, and if she compares to Boomy. I don't think currently,
Bro,
as we've seen her, she does.
even in Korra as an old lady,
But did she take down the entire city? The
she was
entire
kicking
city by
ass.
herself? No, she didn't do that.
Can I change my team? I'll drop all three for just Momo. Do you remember when they tricked everybody to think Momo was an earthbender?
Yeah.
I'll just
I
take
mean,
Momo.
if you want to do that, then I'm just picking up Appa. I mean, Momo versus Appa is just it's a dream battle.
I can't wait to see new creatures.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's always fun. The combinations of animals is always fun.
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I can't wait to see
Plus,
them in live action.
also you can't forget Appa is probably the most important character of the show. I mean, while Aang was off on his journey, his best friend from childhood, Boomy, something's missing. Someone very important. Where's Momo?
Where's Momo? There's so many great moments too from the original series, like when Sokka gets drunk off the cactus juice.
Yeah,
Like
he's just
not even drunk,
hallucinating
he's
in the
like
desert.
high, he's
Yeah.
hallucinating. But also, you're right, Appa is so important and he's so integral because remember season 2 going to the
Oh,
library in the desert when
dude.
Appa, bro,
I
there
forget, I
are
think it's
only a
called just Where's Appa is the name of the episode or something like that.
there's only a
So
few
sad.
moments. It's so sad.
So sad. They're
There's only a
abusing
few
him.
moments where Aang loses it like completely, and them taking Appa was like the moment
Oh yeah.
where it was like, do not mess
Like
with this 12-year-old.
like on grand scale, it is probably the least thing that has gotten him so mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it was
super sad
ridiculous.
moment. Not the saddest moment. Saddest moment goes to Iroh, his song, the episode about his son, and that just even just hearing it makes me want to cry.
Yeah, I mean, there were some parts that I think can really hit the heartstrings for a show on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And I think now knowing that their audience is so grown because Avatar was so long ago and people watching, while they're going to be young people that are going to get into it the same way we did, there's going to be older people like us, older even, that are going to be watching it and hitting even more adult themes is
And
probably going to come in a lot.
and with that, they were limited by a lot of some of the story elements in like more adult stories they wanted to tell with Korra. You know, I mean, look at the ending of Korra. Her and Asami, just hold hands because that's
Yeah,
all
that was their big
Nickelodeon.
moment.
That's all
Their big
Nickelodeon would
moment
allow
was,
them to do, and they
yeah.
took it. And it's still a great moment. It works, and you can watching it, you can understand the decision like and what is happening.
But yeah,
They're
even
together.
that you see in Core, they're taking on more adult themes, and it was
Yeah,
still on Nickelodeon, but they realized their audience was older and could understand what they were doing. So
yeah,
then going forward, they do not have the restrictions of being strictly on a kids network, and
yeah.
they have an audience that is even older now. So to see, some of like Zuko's drama that we saw before, it's probably going to be enhanced.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited for everything that the studio has to offer. I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you for tuning in to the newest episode of Beer and Skittles podcast. Try to come back wherever you see us. Find us on other places, whether it is Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, wherever. Uh, Try to find us, and this is where you can get all of your pop culture news, and we'll try to cover as much as we can as it comes out.
Thank you for listening.